Man, lots of changes in our world. Lots of changes with the New York Mets this week. But it's so analogous to what people have to realize about business. And it really hit me today. Like, the Mets have made major changes. They've let several players go. They traded one. And the guy that's the general manager, David Stearns, is getting all this flack on social media. Everybody's pissed with him. And there's very few people, and I could tell who are the business owners or entrepreneurs or people who understand for the greater good what you need to do and the decisions you need to make. And they're all bashing this guy for letting these things happen because of popularity. When you run a business, you can't make decisions based on popularity. You got to do what's in the best for the business.
Right.
What is best for the business? If you got to let go of that employee, or you have to restructure, or you have to bring in a fresh new set of eyes, or you have to change an idea because this one's not working. And that's the point that people don't get. The Mets have had several of these key players on their teams for the last 5-6 years, and they have not won a championship yet. And the goal of every team is to win a championship. Every goal of every business is to be profitable, to make money, and to sustain itself for as long as you want it to. But if you don't make changes, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's the thing that, like, it's amazing. I mean, you know me, baseball is my life
Well, you know
outside of
what?
what
Oh,
we
that's
do.
funny. Hold on. So I'm going to read. This is I got the
Ah,
declaration. I got the Declaration of Independence in the mail the other day, and I read it. When's the last time you read the Declaration of Independence?
I actually got that same thing in the mail the other day, but I got the Constitution and the Declaration of
Yeah,
Independence.
it has both, but you don't read it very often. But they're pretty wise words. I mean, they created the greatest country on the planet Earth. At the end of the second paragraph, it said something. I'll read it. It says that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Now, keep in mind, this is written in 1775, 76. Okay. But it says that
Yep.
mankind are more disposed to suffer. We're willing to
Yep.
suffer, while evils are sufferable, while shit is all messed up. We're willing to suffer while the things are all messed up, as opposed to righting themselves, meaning as opposed to changing things
Mm-hmm.
that they're accustomed to, that they're used to. So what it's basically saying is we'll go ahead and suffer in this misery because it's
Right.
comfortable, right?
Correct.
And that's what
Yep.
mankind is built on. Mankind is built on saying, like, I'll go with what's familiar. I'll go with what I'm used to, because the pain of changing is worse than the pain I'm suffering at the moment. And it's really like they don't even know what it's going to feel like if they change it. They're just scared to change, and they think change in itself is going to be painful.
Right.
And this is pretty regular in most people's lives, most people's business, baseball teams, football teams. You stick with
Yep.
things way too long when you know, like, this
Well,
is not good, but it's
you gotta
better
know.
in my mind than dealing with having to change everything.
Right. Well, if you don't change, you die. Like, that was one of the biggest things going back to the American Revolution. I mean, the flag of Massachusetts. In the John Adams series, they always wave that flag at the beginning of the episode. If you have never seen have you ever seen the HBO series on John
Yeah.
Adams? The opening credits have a flag that says "Change or Die."
Mm-hmm.
They literally had "Change or Die," and that's all of life. If we don't evolve, if we don't make those changes, we will lose our businesses. We will go broke. We will die. They will not happen. And that will cause stagnation, and that will cause people to get stuck. And this is why so many business owners get stuck, is because they're not willing to make the changes they need to make. They live with that comfort zone.
But it's not just change or die, because I see the opposite. People just change for changing's sake, like for
Mhm.
novelty, right? It's like I want something new
Right.
because I'm bored. The changing that has to be made is much like what the New York Mets did. Is like two of the most popular guys weren't signed. It's not that they were released; their contracts up. But two of the most popular guys, Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso, were not re-signed, right? And the
Mhm.
Mets didn't make more of an effort to re-sign them because you got to change. It's just what's in the good of that organization. And that's what you have to do in your business. We're looking like you're always looking at where can I improve? And improve, you don't have to
Right.
change just to change. It's can I make any changes, whether it's elimination or addition, subtraction or addition? Can I make any of these changes to make the thing better? And what really allowed me to make a tremendous difference in my revenue generation career is when I realized the business is its own entity and I am in the charge of it, right? And I look at
Mhm.
it very similarly to having children. And it's like, okay, I have these children. I don't own them, right? I'm here to take care of them. I'm here to make sure that my kids have everything they need to stay healthy, to stay happy, to have the opportunities to have success in their lives, to be the best that they can be. And when you start to look at your business in this way, as I did, you now are in the charge. You have to care for this thing. And you have to make some decisions that hurt for your children, like don't stay up all night and eat candy, right? It's like, oh,
Mhm.
you have to discipline them and do those things. But it's the same with your business. You have to make these decisions that don't really feel good, but they're in the best interest of that business. And this
Mhm.
happened to me when I became a fiduciary. When I owned my financial planning practice, or before I owned my financial planning practice, I was an investor and did insurance. And I went from what's called the suitability standard, and I went and got licensed and got educated and did all these things to now be a fiduciary. And I had to change how I gave advice to people. And I had to go from what was suitable, meaning what's a good recommendation for the masses, over to what is in the best interest of this one individual specific situation. And that's what you have to do. You are becoming a fiduciary for your business. Okay. And everything that relies on it, whether it be the clients, whether it be the books, the employees, the IRS, all these things, you have to be in the charge of that and you have to care for it. What most people do is we're looking at what is it going to care for me? How is it going to give me the money? How is it going to take care of me? But that's not what running a business is. Okay? It's really you're taking care of the thing that's going to take care of everybody else.
Yeah.
And that means you have to make major decisions, okay?
Mhm.
It's hard though. Like we say
It
business is simple, it's just not easy.
and there's hard decisions to be made, and there's that underlying fear if every decision is the right decision, and this is where it's so important to make sure you have a really clear vision for your business, right? So before you go and you make those changes, before you look at everything, I think you have to reevaluate what is the vision you have for this company, because as we talk about, every decision every single day is based on the vision, and that's what gives us the direction and the certainty to make those decisions is what we're trying to accomplish. And I think, I've been through so many I really was through several reductions in force in my corporate experience where, unfortunately, I was the person that was assisting with the reduction, right? And reorganizing the organization and having people have to let people go and do all of that. And I found in several of those cases that the vision was not always reevaluated. It was simply, "This isn't working, and we have to make some kind of change, so let's do this because this is what most people do." And, I've been in other situations where it wasn't working. We need to do something different. And instead of letting people go, they invested more money in it. Right. So I've been on both extremes of like either you let people go or you reinvest in people and you reinvest in the areas that's not working to see if you can make it better. But in both of those, I think you have to reevaluate what is the direction of the company? What is the vision that you have for it? Because those decisions, they didn't work in the long run. They were not the right choices because they wound up steering the organization in a totally different direction that now was totally different than their initial vision. So it's really important that when you make change, that the change is intentional. I mean, we talk about this all the time. What's the intention? What are you trying to accomplish with this change? Are you resetting the vision or are you still trying to carry out the same vision? And are you making the decision based on that vision? And if you're not, well, then you have to don't go forward with the change till you know why you are making that change.
And most times in my life when I've had a major failure, it wasn't because I wasn't putting the effort in. It wasn't,
Mhm.
hey, I'm not trying hard enough. I've always tried really, really hard. I always put the hours in. I always sweat it out. I always deal with what I got to do. What it was is I didn't really focus on a particular thing, right? And that's really what your vision is. Your vision is saying I'm gonna pick a focus. This is what I envision. I'm going to work towards. And instead of doing that, it was kind of like all over the place. It's like I'm going to put a lot of work in for a lot of different things, hoping that I'm going to get all these results and all these outcomes. And when I have had the ability to move to what we call a lot of time the one plan, which is like I'm focused on these one things, okay? It's that when you have that ultimate focus, then the effort is really worthwhile. Okay? When you're just putting effort in for effort's sake and you don't have an ultimate focus, at least from my experience, it ends up where it's not very useful. You're
Mm,
just tired, and that's unfortunately what happens is I've seen some of the greatest people put in so much effort and not have success. And I'm like, what? It doesn't make sense. I'm like, you're smart. You're doing something that's worthwhile as far as whatever product or service you're offering. It seems like every single day you're working really hard at this. How come you're not having success? And it's usually comes back to they didn't have a vision that they're focusing on. And yeah, for me, that's been it time and time again. What am I
yeah,
focusing on?
it's so important because otherwise, what the hell are you doing it for? You know? Why are we doing this stuff? And, why are we making these changes? We gotta understand, I mean, we make changes all the time. We know we just changed our whole schedule for the new year. And because what we've been doing is not working to the way we wanna do it, and it's not yielding what we expect it to yield, and we've made the changes, but we're willing to make those changes. We're willing to fail. We're willing to understand. Maybe we'll have to make changes in 3 months, or we'll have to make changes next year, or maybe we won't have to make any changes because this has become the approach that's the right way for us, and I think that's the I think the flexibility is what gives you the capability to really make changes. I think you have to have a flexible or adaptable personality in some way. You have to be willing to adapt and change the things that are going to matter for your business, things that are going to matter better for your life. I mean, we do this every time we look at our health too. Like, what do I need to change to make me better? What do I need to change to really put me in a better place so I can be better for my family, better for my business, etc. But it's the adaptability. It's being ready to adapt and make and create new habits. And it really, is a challenge for a lot of people.
Well, I don't disagree with you on the flexibility, but I think many people think they're extremely flexible. I have a growth mindset and I'm willing to learn and I'm flexible and I'll make changes. But I think in order to drive that flexibility into a more successful situation, it usually requires uncomfort. And that's the thing is the change is usually uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And are you flexible enough to now put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that you're not familiar with? Because that's really what it is to improve, right?
Right.
You're constantly learning. It's an
Mhm.
iteration on your last failure. That's really what it is. There's failure and I have to iterate, but whoever said the saying, Benjamin Franklin, Winston Churchill, one of those guys that we always give it to, it's like insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
I
But
think that was Einstein.
Einstein, okay, there you go. So that what that means is you have to change, right? But
Mhm.
inside of it, being flexible is wonderful, but the willingness to accept uncomfort, I think that's really what it comes down to because especially for business owners, entrepreneurs, self-employed people, you have mastery. Like you wouldn't be able to generate revenue if you didn't have some sort of mastery in some area. You're a great salesperson, or you produce a great product, or you give great advice, or you run a great operation. You've mastered that. And to now say, like, okay, I'm going to change this after I've just spent all this time and energy mastering it is fucking scary.
Oh,
Like, that's
yeah.
not a good feeling. And you're like, wait, I have to do that all over again? Master
Exactly.
something new? And that's what I mean by the willingness to be uncomfortable. It's all right. I'm going to start from scratch again and relearn something and remaster it. And the people always say, I could just delegate it. You could just hire somebody. And you certainly can, but not for everything, not for the vision,
No.
especially. The vision means that the whole enterprise is going to change. And yeah, you may need to change some people's seats, and you may need to change the bus that you drive. I'm using good to great, but
Yep.
you may need to change these things. But you yourself have to change that vision as the leader of the organization, as the leader of your family, as the leader of your friend group. Whenever you're a leader, you're the one that's going to decide the vision, the course that everyone's going to go after.
Yep.
And that means you need to be super uncomfortable.
And I often think that the more discomfort you have, the more you're uncomfortable with the situation, the more necessary and the more important it really is for you to do. I think it actually gives some, like we go through anything that you are uncomfortable with, you're doing it because there's something better that needs to happen around the corner, or there's something better that you're trying to work towards. And it's a necessary part of the process. And people don't recognize that they don't want to change because they don't want to be uncomfortable. Well, if you don't want to do any of that, then you can't take anything to the next level. You can't make any improvement, right? You have to learn how to live with the disease, I call it, like, do you ever look at the word disease? It's dis-ease. Like it's that's what it is you have a disease, and it's not really that you have this disease. You have to be challenged to go through the dis-ease in order to fix the problems that you have. The dis-ease requires treatment. It requires work. It requires effort. It requires that whole uncomfortable period so that you can heal and become healthy again. And if you look at it that way, it serves a very necessary function. And people are just not willing sometimes to do what's necessary. And I think that's why, with the example with the Mets, David Stearns is getting this incredible amount of flack from people because people want to keep it the way it was. They don't like change. They want these popular players to stick around and continue to be their team because they don't know what could be better than that in some cases, and they're not looking at the whole picture. They're not looking at the vision. And I keep saying to my son, like, it's gonna be all right. He's got a plan, and we have to believe in the plan, and we're gonna be if we it's a few years of discomfort, it's a few years of discomfort, but eventually the goal is just to win the World Series, and that's, what it will we'll look back when we win the World Series and say, "Yeah, it was all worth it. Yep, I got it now." That's how you do it, and that's how we have to look in our businesses too. You gotta go through it to then look back on it and say, "Yep, it was all worth it."
Yeah, there's a good philosophy called the region beta paradox. I heard it through Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom, but it's talking the same. And he's like, I've come up. I think he said I've come up with this thing, or he discovered it, but it comes right back to the Declaration of Independence,
Mhm.
where it's really the region beta paradox is like things aren't bad enough for you to want to change, and they're not good enough at the end for you to keep driving forward to make progress, where you just sit in this uncomfort. And they look at it like you have an apartment and the rent is kind of okay, the neighborhoods are right, and there's only a little bit of mold here, so you'll
Mhm.
just deal with all these things. Where if it was like, oh my god, there were murders happening outside your front door, you're gonna move. Or if the mold got so bad where you were getting sick, you're gonna move. And the point behind this is where things aren't good enough or they're bad enough for you to make that change,
Mhm.
right? And that's the thing. And sometimes we can't wait for all hell to break loose to make the change, or things to be unbelievable so we can change and do more of those things. And that's really what the Declaration of Independence is saying is we're more likely to deal with this suffering than we are to change it, because we become familiar with it. We become like used to it, and that's the thing, is you have to put yourself in these mindsets, not these situations, but you have to put yourself in these
Right.
mindsets of like, okay, it's not ideal. It's not the way that I would like it to be. So what can I change about that? And instead of just being comfortable in nonsense or waiting for it all to go to hell.
Yeah. I mean, those words of wisdom shaped our entire country. You know, everything that was in there shaped it. Like, they weren't willing to suffer anymore. They were willing to be uncomfortable and go through the process of a war and developing a new nation and doing all that. I mean, they really were, for farmers, and they were pretty smart people. They were pretty smart people. Farmers, lawyers, whatever the bunch of them were too, really smart people, because they had this they saw that.
Well, were they, hold on, but wait. Were they smart people, or the situation got so bad that they were fed up and they had to declare, we're now independent because this situation is so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, that's what they saw. It was so bad that we had to declare a change.
I mean,
We had to make a
I still
change.
have it in front of me. The whole all the things they talk about King George III doing, like he's refused to assent to laws to the whole necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governments to pass laws. He's refused to pass other laws. Uh, he's dissolved representative houses repeatedly. He has refused for a long time after such disillusions to cause others to be elected. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for the purposes that obstruct the laws. He's obstructed administrative of justice. He has made judges dependent on his will alone. He has erected a multitude of new offices. He's kept us among, in times of peace, standing armies without consent of our legislators. Like they're saying, like, dude, all this, and it goes on and on and on. There's more of
Wow.
it. He's done this. He's done that. He's done this. He's done that. It's these people were like, it's so bad, we have to
Right.
make a change. And what I'm saying is, we don't have to wait to declare our independence. You
Correct.
are independent already,
Right.
and most of the time, you're the one that is causing the suffering.
Yep. You yourself are causing your own suffering,
Well, the New
and
York
that's
Mets were causing their own suffering by
oh,
keeping
yes, they
certain
were.
people, right?
Yep.
That's saying like, oh, we made a decision and let's just see if it works out. Let's just see, it's like, okay.
Right.
So you got to
Nope.
make these new decisions.
And you can't give in to a certain will, right? So both of these people that left, Diaz and Alonso specifically, they wanted these longer contracts. Well, one got the same duration of a contract, the other one got a longer contract, and you can't give in necessarily to the will of what's going wrong. You have to take control of it and say no. And you have to have strong enough boundaries. You have to have a strong enough confidence in what you're attempting to now change to be able to say no to certain things too. It's not that you're saying yes to all of it. Like, you're not just saying yes to all of the disease. You're saying no to the things that you know are going to be counterproductive in managing that change and that discomfort. And that was a big point of this too, is you're not going to give in to the will of people, and you're going to do the and Stearns is doing the unpopular thing right now. And that is the thing that you have to respect, is you're going to do things that may be unpopular, but if you know it's the right thing for your business, if it's the right thing for your staff, if it's the right thing for your customers, you have no other choice than to do it and not give in to the pressures, because that will take you backwards instead of moving you forward.
Funny, we're drawing analogies from baseball, business, and the Declaration of Independence. That's funny.
Isn't that crazy? But it's all the same, man. It's all the same. I think everything listen, I think I mean, listen, you could do this in football, you could do this in basketball, you could do this with any sport. You could do this with any situation. And that's what people struggle so much to realize, is that everything is right in front of you. Just open your eyes and pay fucking attention. Like, wake up. See it. It's right there. And it's simple. It's not easy. It's simple. It was a simple thing. They saw that this was not good. They knew it would be hard to change it, but they went through it and they made the changes, and the end product is the country that they established that grew and has been around for over 200 years. That was their vision. They made the decision based on the vision.
Have a vision, make a decision. See you later.
Ciao.